Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I am so excited to talk to my guest today because we're going to be talking about technology. I love technology, but I'm a troglodyte on this one. I think that's the right word. I have not used this technology yet for a variety of reasons, which is part of what we're going to talk about as to why people hesitate to use this technology, because it is so cool and it is such a benefit to your business and bad on us for not using it. So please join me in welcoming Maddy Martin to our program today. Welcome, Maddy.
Thank you so much, Deb. It's great to be here.
Well, now that we've really piqued people's interest, excuse me, let me tell people just a little bit about you. So Maddy Martin is the head of growth and education for Smith.ai, a superior virtual receptionist service for phone calls, web chat that combines human intelligence and AI technology to help small service-driven businesses achieve happier clients and more qualified leads. She has spent the last decade growing tech startups from New York to California and has expertise in digital marketing, lead generation, new client conversion, email marketing, business development, partner marketing, influencer programs, SEO, social media, and event marketing. Maddy is a nationally acclaimed expert, most often teaching small business owners how to streamline, automate, and delegate work for business growth that can be sustained long-term. So again, Maddy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Deb. Sorry for that.
Oh no, it's great.
And bio.
it's what I love is learning about my guests, and why they do these things, and so let's kind of go back to that a little bit. What is it about this technology that really piques your interest?
I think it's the combination of the real humans with the technology. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people these days who are afraid of AI, who say it's going to replace jobs. And my argument from my experience directly with Smith AI is that it actually takes away all of those routine tasks that none of us really like doing.
Right.
And it allows people to upskill vocationally in their job, to adopt new technologies, to use them in their delivery of their job, and then to be able to have a much more interesting day-to-day where not only are you maybe fulfilling traditional receptionist duties in the case of the staff that we have, but also programming a chatbot and teaching technology to be better able to serve you in doing your job better, and then the rest of your team. So it's kind of amazing that people who may not have access to higher education can actually be very capable technologists with technology and a traditional service delivery like a receptionist service.
Right. We're a long way from AI taking over the world. It's funny, who knows if it ever even would, because it still needs people to implement it. Now maybe 1,000 years from now, who knows? But in the next 10, 20, 30 years, no. It still needs people to set it up, and to run it and to enhance it, to build it, to all of those things. So it's, as you said, the thing about AI is it might replace job A, but it creates job B, C, and D. And I think that's the cool part about it is, and of course we're talking AI at many levels, maybe it's, building widgets, all of those various things, but people still have to be doing the things that AI is going to be doing. It's, it might be replacing a job, but as we said, it's going to be creating even more.
It also really makes you potentially more valuable in your job. Like one of the things that I think is a really cool, easy to understand
Mm-hmm.
example of the AI that we use at Smith AI is actually the real-time English-Spanish translation through the
Ah.
website chat,
Mm-hmm.
because I am not someone who speaks Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm typing as a responsive
Mm-hmm.
receptionist on
Mm-hmm.
chat, and someone comes to the website that I'm serving
Mm-hmm.
and speaks Spanish or seems to indicate that they prefer Spanish,
Right.
then I can actually automatically
Mm-hmm.
translate my English into Spanish for them,
Mm-hmm.
their Spanish into English for
Mm-hmm.
me. And that happens as soon as I trigger that automatically. And what
Right.
we see when we look at these conversations is that there really isn't a request for clarification. There's
Mm-hmm.
very little stumbling. So it actually is facilitating more conversations more easily
Mm-hmm.
for these small business owners that I hear this all the time, frankly, like, oh, I have this person on staff and I can't let them go. They're really not great at their job, but they're bilingual, or they
Mm-hmm.
have this
Yeah.
one skill set that I
Mm-hmm.
can't replace. And it's like, technology actually makes it easier
Mm-hmm.
for you to have more control over your hiring, because
Mm-hmm.
some of these things that are being added on as benefits through technology can make your life easier in making those hard decisions of whether
Mm-hmm.
or not to keep staff that
Right.
may not actually be doing
Mm-hmm.
their core job so well, but have this one thing that you
Mm-hmm.
really need that kind of
Mm-hmm.
keeps you stuck with them, which is
Right.
really hard for small businesses,
Mm-hmm.
even competing for talent in the first place.
Oh, definitely. Right. And I'm assuming that we're, when we're talking about a translation program like that, it's
Mhm.
still at a somewhat basic level. And so I say it's, if it gets, you can answer, simple basic queries, as opposed to, say, this is a, very complicated, very detailed, very scientific, something like that answer. I mean, it's just like, again, with English, I mean, I can answer some basic questions,
Mhm.
but for something that is more sophisticated,
Mhm.
more industry specific, more whatever, it
Mhm.
does take that expert.
Well, yeah, actually, so that brings up a really interesting point. So the English-Spanish translation is actually whatever input you put into the system,
Mm.
because the technology recognizes
Hmm.
one
Hmm.
language and translates it to another. It has the full sort of dictionary and
Oh,
linguistic
okay. Hmm.
characteristics available to
Hmm.
it. So it's really like as good as the inputs coming in.
Hmm.
If like,
Right.
if I pretend to be, someone who's programming with Python, like I would
Hmm.
not fool you for a second.
Hmm.
But if someone was actually an engineer and
Hmm.
we're writing about that, then
Right.
yeah, it would
Hmm.
translate.
Hmm.
But the interesting thing is, with a receptionist service specifically, the way that we're different from like customer support or technical support, there are really great sort of like outsourced
Hmm.
programs out there for that, like GMS Live Expert is like,
Right.
okay, those are technical support people on
Hmm.
your website or on your phone that people can outsource to if they're a small business. But for us, the real value add is actually in doing the screening
Hmm.
so that we reduce interruptions
Right.
from calls, from emails, whatever it is, so that the business owner, who is often in a small business, can
Hmm.
focus on the work that they need to get done and not worry about, should I pick up this
Hmm.
call because I don't recognize the number?
Right.
And in this day and age, is
Hmm.
it spam, or
Hmm.
is it like a new potential client who could
Hmm.
be the best client I've ever had? You
Right.
just don't know. So what
Hmm.
happens? Calls go to voicemail.
Hmm.
And what we see is that people who do not pick up the phone are missing out on business, because clients are most likely to hire the first business to pick
Right.
up,
Hmm.
because they don't yet know how amazing and great
Hmm.
you are at your job. They
Hmm.
don't know to wait for you.
Right.
So they just want their problem resolved, or
Hmm.
their sort of, matter at hand. We work with a
Hmm.
lot of lawyers. They want to know that they have found the business that can serve them,
Hmm.
basically.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I had a guest on several months ago where we talked exactly about that, where, we want a response now.
Hmm.
And it doesn't even really matter a lot of times what it is. Now, clearly, in some instances, you mentioned legal, health, some of those things, you want to talk to a real person and you want to talk to them right now, right this instant. But we also do that with, just basic service things. And so we've got our 5 people that we're going to call. We
Hmm.
go to number 1, we get voicemail. We go to number 2, we get voicemail. And so, because we, I don't even have the time to leave a message, let alone wait for them to call back and do all that, because I want my answer now.
Right.
We've become that generation that, whatever, where we expect things right now. And the thing that he impressed upon me was the fact that as the business who ignores those calls because of exactly what you said, is it spam? Is it whatever? How much business am I missing out on? Simply because I didn't recognize that number and I thought it can go to voicemail, because they almost never leave a message. And so then my assumption is, I was right, it was spam. When
Because a good client would leave a message. Not
Yeah, if they were really interested, they would have left the message. All those reasons. Now, it probably, in many cases, it probably is spam, and it's, and there are certainly ways that you can recognize those calls. If it comes in as unlisted or United States or whatever. But if it's if it looks more like it's a valid call, it might truly be a valid call. So, how much business have I lost out on because I'm screening that? And, and so that's what I love about what you do and the service that you provide is, as you mentioned, it's that quick little screening service. I'm sorry, no, she does not need her car warranty extended, click.
But it's completely custom. Right. Exactly. And like the really nice thing here is also that you have the opportunity to have a massive competitive advantage because not everyone is going to, hear this advice and take it to heart immediately. So the student that you're the one who takes it to heart and changes your processes and says, I'm not going to have to pick up the phone every single time because I have to get work done, but I'm actually going to hand that pretty simple task off to someone else with clear directions to screen them for me. And if they're a good potential client, like, try and transfer them or book them on my calendar. And if I charge for consults, take payment information. This can all be done in this day and age. And guess what? The majority of businesses are not doing that. So if you start doing it, your ability to capitalize on those clients and to win them is much greater because you have a significant advantage if you just take the first move here.
And in many cases, it only takes one or two that actually become a client to have paid for the service, and I think that's the thing. I was looking through your website at what you charge, and it's extremely reasonable. And that really was one of the things that I was thinking about. And particularly if you are someone like a lawyer or somebody who charges a pretty hefty hourly rate, one or two new clients pays for it for the whole month. 100%. And you weren't distracted by answering the call. In fact, it might not even ring to you anymore because even just the fact of stopping and looking and going, oh, okay, well, do I want to answer that or not? No, that's just gone. And so then, as you said, you're able to focus on what you're doing. You do the work, the real calls come through in whatever method, and you're much more productive. So it's a win-win.
And not only that, it's really good even if you have a small team. Like, let's say you're not a solo entrepreneur. You've got a little team. Maybe you're a law firm with a paralegal or an IT firm with like a technician. And what we find is that people, well, first of all, staffing is really expensive and it's hard for a lot of small businesses to first and second retain talent, right? So if you have people who you've painstakingly hired to be on your team, and then you're taking someone who has the skills of a paralegal or a technician or really good, marketing or salesperson, and they're just picking up the phone generally, guess what? They're not going to be super happy, and they're probably
not doing their job.
Exactly. It's not upskilling for them. It's not getting the same way that if you pick up the phone and you're getting interrupted, you reduce the billing rate that you potentially have as opportunity cost. Like, you're doing that to your team also. So their satisfaction goes down, their morale goes down. Maybe you're both in the same boat because you're both answering the calls. That's nice for improving morale slightly, but it's not good for your productivity. And what we find is that each interruption not only causes around a 20-minute recovery period that's lost. So it's not even the actual time of the interruption, but it's also the fact that you are demoralizing your team and not getting as much out of them as possible. So if you have the opportunity to at least have that frontline gatekeeper,
Mm-hmm.
then you can only have those calls scheduled or only transferred if there's a sense of like urgency and they're qualified and they really need to talk to you now and they're probably likely to pay you money.
Mm-hmm.
So not to mention the fact that, like, if you think about certain skill sets, they don't always translate to really great customer service.
Right.
Like, there are
Oh,
people
yeah.
who are awesome technicians
Mm-hmm.
who should probably not be in a customer
They should
support role.
never answer
They're
the
not
phone.
like maybe people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have people who are really introverted and you're asking them
Mm-hmm.
to answer the phones as just like a sort of like overflow situation, but it happens pretty regularly, not only could you be demoralizing them, but you could probably not be delivering the best customer service
Right.
to your
Oh,
client.
yeah. Right. And we've all had those calls happen to us, right? Where you call and you get somebody that goes, XYZ business. And I mean, your first thought is, well, they didn't want to talk to me. Or
they may be the best roofer, plumber, technician,
but
financial
they're
advisor
not
in the world.
Yeah, they shouldn't be the person talking to you, and
Right.
so you're thinking, well, I interrupted their day, there, and then worse, if you ask them a question, I don't know, I'll get you that answer. I always love the sighs. I love it when I get somebody who does the at me, because I really just want to go, I'm really sorry that I bothered you. Click.
Well, even worse than that, there is totally that attitude. There's also the attitude of, if you're not willing to leave me a voicemail or email and wait for 3 days, you're not the right client for me who understands my value, and I don't want to work with you if you're not willing to wait. It's like, that's not a reasonable expectation, especially if you don't tell people up front, like, by the way, this is part of like my process. I don't answer emails and phone calls these days of the week. Also, fill out this questionnaire or like something that actually does vet them if you really want to vet a client. It's not nice to passive aggressively vet clients.
Right.
Like that, you know? Or like you think that you're playing this game and they're maybe in on it. So
yeah, let's make them work for it. I
make
like
them
those.
work for it by filling out a questionnaire, but don't make them work for it by wondering, is this person going to bestow their services on me so that I can pay them a lot of money? I mean, it's not easy to be a small business. Don't do things that are going to hamper your chances for growth.
Right. And and when you can add something as simple as a virtual receptionist, and or a chat bot, we're going to kind of talk about some of the differences of all of these. Why not do it? Because
month to month.
Well, and part of the reason we go into business for ourselves is schedule flexibility. I want to be able to not be working at 2 p.m. or, on a Saturday or whatever. And when we're always thinking, oh my gosh, I have to answer that call, I have to respond to that message.
You're tied to that business.
Yeah, and so then it's not fun anymore.
That's actually really interesting. So what we find is that there is sort of this dilemma where people who are motivated to start a new business are really interested in oftentimes having control.
Right.
But then there's sort of this like nasty curve that happens where you have control and then you get to a point where the work starts to pick up and you kind of feel like, okay, me controlling this business has been going really well, but in order to grow, I need to actually release control, hand off non-essential tasks that are not in my core skill set or don't produce as much revenue as I'm valuable to the business. And I'm going to delegate, I'm going to automate, I'm going to streamline. And I think that that's like really outside of the comfort zone that you train yourself to be in. Saying like, I started this business and it's really successful because of how much control I've had. And now in order to grow, I need to release control. That's really hard for people to get their minds around. And I think that's a huge challenge, is like that mental aspect of it.
Right. And we've talked about that on the program before, the importance of delegating. We can't be experts in everything. We can't even have basic knowledge in everything. And for some reason, as that small business owner, we think, well, I have to. I have to know how to do my own taxes. I have to know how to file legal documents. No, No, you're the roofer, you're the whatever. Even if you're in, say, one of the fields that you specialize in is attorneys. But
Mm-hmm.
clearly there's all sorts of different attorneys. So,
Mm-hmm.
a divorce attorney isn't going to know business law.
Right.
And so it's very important to outsource, delegate, do, whatever we want to call it, those tasks that are better done by someone else. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to change my own oil in my car. Could I? Maybe, but it's just much better if I have somebody else do it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are skills that you want to add and there are skills that you
Mhm.
don't have to add in order to have a benefit to them. And the question is, how much is your time worth?
Mhm.
Like, is that a skill that if you spend time developing it actually pays you back?
Mhm.
Or is that just like,
Right.
something that maybe is a fun hobby that you
Mhm.
really have a passion for? Like we're
Mhm.
seeing more and more small business sort of technologists that are
Right.
tapping into like new skills for using Zapier and
Mhm.
integrations, which is so great.
Mhm.
Reason though that they're doing that is because they have a passion for it,
Mhm.
one, but then also the affordability of technology
Mhm.
is better than ever.
Right.
So small businesses have always had a huge opportunity to grow and scale and be more nimble than the big
Mhm.
business, and that's always been a huge advantage. But I think now that there's technology that has come down in price so significantly, like a small business can afford a CRM,
Mhm.
marketing,
Mhm.
email, website, online calendaring
Mhm.
programs, and all of these integrations between them in a way that was totally unprecedented even
Right.
like 5 years ago.
Mhm. Right. And so we do those things, and then we add in all these other things. And again, it's not why we went into business.
Right.
And so, what can we outsource to have somebody else do? And, as we said, answering the phone,
Mm-hmm.
answering inquiries is
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the easiest, fastest things that we can outsource. And just think about your own day. How many calls do you get in a day that even if you didn't take them, just
Mm-hmm.
disrupted your train of thought because you looked at it and you went, and yeah, and so then it stops. So an hour, do you lose an
Right.
hour by doing that? Do you lose 30 minutes? Even losing 30 minutes, I mean, that's a good chunk of somebody's day.
And that's pretty common.
Hmm.
Yeah. We see that for our attorney clients,
Hmm.
the Clio Legal Trends Report, I
Hmm.
don't know if you've ever heard of that, but Clio is a practice management system and
Hmm.
intake software for lawyers. They come out with a report every year, and
Hmm.
we look at this data very
Hmm.
closely, and it does relate to the experience that our clients often have,
Hmm.
or that come to us with these similar problems. And they see that on average, attorneys are interrupted about 6 times a day.
Hmm.
The majority is interrupted more than 6 times a day, and the average interruption recovery time
Hmm.
is 23 minutes.
Right.
So that's not even including like the
Hmm.
time of the interruption itself.
Right. Yeah. Because you put down the phone, oh, I need a cup of coffee, and oh, I better
Or
check
it
my
gets you
email.
thinking about this
Yeah.
marketing channel that you haven't,
Yep.
paid
Hmm.
as much attention to as you
Hmm.
want, or I'm going to write that
Hmm.
article and now I have an
Yep.
idea.
Yeah.
Right.
And you never, and a lot of times the next day you go, oh, wow, I got interrupted from doing X.
Mm-hmm.
And, and yeah, so, your recovery time was huge. But yeah, and,
And
I
when
know
you're
a
in the
lot of,
small business,
mhm,
like how easy is it? We talk about control, right?
mhm,
Like how easy is it to just be lenient with yourself
mhm,
and say, oh yeah, maybe I will just like take this moment and think about
right.
this thing or write
Mhm,
this article, or
mhm,
or if you're, starting up a brand new business and you haven't paid for an office space, when you're working from home, like
mhm,
how many distractions are
mhm,
there?
right.
So the more that you can do to sort of like program yourself and
Mhm,
set yourself up for success, the better. That also raises something that I was talking about yesterday, actually in another podcast about hiring and empowering, which is
mm,
really cool. And Deb,
mhm,
if you haven't checked out Molly McGrath, she's amazing. Um,
mm,
but she also focuses on small businesses
mhm, mhm,
and one of the, with law firms in particular, I believe. And, we talk about like the um, importance of delegation,
right.
but then also the importance of, and I just lost my train of thought. I was so excited about Molly.
Empowering,
I was
empowering.
Empowering, I know. About what was it? We were talking about solo small businesses.
Well, they have to be able to actually
remember.
answer the questions. It's not just, hey, I'm gonna let somebody do this. They have to be able to give good answers. I mean, the worst thing I'm sorry, I must check with someone before I can, and yeah, so you have to empower the people that you're working with that they can answer at least the basic questions.
Yes, definitely. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Thank you for triggering it. So, okay. So, when you are, your own boss and you give yourself a lot of leniency,
right.
And no one's the wiser, right? And typically your clients aren't, they don't know your rubric.
Right, right.
But what happens then? What we see is that small businesses are really bad about asking for people to pay their bills that are past due or overdue, and people owe you money. They're writing it off. They're not charging you the full amount of hours that they really bill to you. We see this very often. And the Clio report also shows us that it's like 80% of actually like the hours that were worked were charged to the client. And then 86% are actually received as revenue from those invoices. So if you take credit card payments, like obviously that goes up very quickly, and the speed of payment goes up too. So what we see though is if you delegate something, you're probably going to be a lot more of a stickler to sticking to the directions, not to mention the fact that you can't even delegate unless you have the directions in the first place.
Right.
So one of the things we talk about is like, are you doing new client assessments and intake and audit and things like that to make sure that the clients that you're spending time trying to win are the best potential clients for your firm?
Right.
And if you have a set of criteria, you are much more likely to be more lenient or to let that should have been a paid consult go unpaid or for an hour instead of 30 minutes. And the teams that you're delegating to are going to adhere to your directions because they have to. That's their job. And you're monitoring them. So you actually get a lot more consistency in your business and a lot more value for time spent, because not only are you not spending the time doing that thing, but you're also not having hour consults because someone else booking you for 30 minutes, a couple in a row, like you don't have the bandwidth.
Right. You don't have the time to be,
So it helps you sort of like be more professional also.
And it's funny because professional was exactly the word I was thinking of. I think so many times when we're dealing with a small business, especially if it's a person who's in, say, their guest bedroom, their home office, it's very difficult sometimes to be professional. I tell people now that we do this video, I have to actually put on a shirt as opposed to a t-shirt, and all these various things.
We won't say if we're wearing pants or not.
I'm like, can't stand up.
You can't see.
The cat wanders through. And, so we have trouble, and it's funny because that happens out in, in corporate, too, is, how professional are you?
Especially in Silicon Valley, everyone has dogs in the office.
I know, but, we want to be professional. We want to be perceived as professional. And it's funny, there were things when I very first started my business way back over 20 years ago that somebody told me, and one of the things they said was, get envelopes printed in two color. And they said, because that will come across as being professionally printed. I went, okay. One of the other, have now this was, obviously this was quite a while ago. Don't use stamps. Get one of those postage meters, because people will think, oh, you're a bigger business because you
really
have
nice
that
business card.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you're always presenting yourself in, even if you have no money. And actually, this is something that I learned from my mother, who is an incredible shopper. Like, I'm not saying we had no money, but she was an incredible thrift shopper. And she always had the most fabulous clothes that she paid almost nothing for because she had a great eye. And like, even if you're just starting out your business and your budget's really small, like if you go to the thrift store, you can look like $1 million. And that's sort of the same thing that we're saying here is like, with all respect, fake it till you make it. Because like, if you're just starting out, maybe you're even coming from a big business into a small one and you're used to a certain lifestyle and you have to cut down, or you're just, being prudent with your money and thrifty. It's really easy to add a service that gives like big business style customer service. It also helps you win that first business for your business by just faking it a little bit. Like, even if you can pick up the phone because you don't have any business, and like, don't use your personal cell phone to run your business, because guess what? Like, once people have that, they don't take it out of their phones.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh, you have a business number now? Good, I'll delete your personal number. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing.
No.
But they're really cheap. 10, 20, 30 bucks a month for a business number, like total no-brainer. You don't have to go all toll-free. You just, have a business number. And then you have a receptionist, a web chat service that's costing you like, combined for a free chat bot that we have, a receptionist service at the basic is $70 a month. Like, that is absolutely affordable. Someone answers your phones and it's like, hi, this is Maddy Martin, ABC Law Firm. How may I help you? Like, wow, that actually sounds like a legitimate business.
Maddie's important. And the assumption then is that you're more professional. All of those various things that, like my voicemail is not my voice. Because, I wanted people, it's, it's just these little things that we do. And so why not have a live person answer your phone that's not you?
Right. And also, and this is something so important too, that as you scale, your client expectations don't have to change.
Right.
So like, imagine the first clients that you get, they're used to being able to ring your cell phone or to ring you directly. And then over time you grow and you're worried because you think, how am I going to uphold this level of customer service that they've grown accustomed to and that I've been delivering if I have way more clients and I need to focus on this and that and I can't pick up the phone, but I really don't want to disappoint these original clients who've been working with me, or they've made referrals that say, oh, she picks up her phone at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday. Oh gosh, like, how do you fulfill those expectations as your business grows? It's not possible. So if you do it the way that you set goals to do it, like, think about your business plan, 5 years from now, and say, how do I envision myself working? It's probably not picking up the phone at 11 p.m. on a Saturday, like, just as an assumption. So what do you do to set yourself up for that business that you aspire to be? And also ask other fellow business owners, like, join some of these business networking groups, listen to podcasts like this, and join some of these Facebook groups that are so incredible for working professionals, new business owners. Like, there are things in your community that you can learn through and grow so that you skip over those mistakes that they made, which most small business owners are happy to share with you because they want to protect other people who are in positions that they remember being.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that is one of the very first things that I thought of were the boundaries. And my clients knew that I was a home-based business, but I told them, I said, I keep regular office hours. Am I looking at emails at 10 o'clock at night? Probably. Am I going to respond? No. Am I going to listen to that voicemail message that comes in at 10 at night? Maybe. But I'm not going to answer it, and so I just kind of, and I built that expectation that, if you want to call me, you call during regular business hours. And then of course the other expectation was, I don't work evenings, I don't work weekends, I don't work holidays. If there is something that comes up that you need me to do that, then there's a different fee. And holy schmoly, they almost always discover that it can wait till Monday. But I set that up right at the very start, because I had people who said, well, but you're home based. Why can't you work on Saturday? Well, no, and now clearly.
Let me tell you something also. Those clients are not always the ones that you want.
Right. Oh yeah, because they're going to be the people that are demanding
of the people who are going to be demanding and who have that attitude towards you're here on earth to serve me.
Yeah. You don't want to be working with them.
Sometimes you have to be careful about that, and they show you who they are with that kind of messaging.
Yeah. Now it gets tricky, especially now that in many cases we're working with people around the world. So 24/7, and so that is where it's good that we can have someone else who responds, or we can automate responses, through AI, through things like that. So that, they might be getting a response at 3 a.m. my time, and it's actually, noon for them. But,
Right.
but then again, it's setting that expectation. It's saying, okay, my office hours are this to this Eastern time. And so then they know, okay, here's what's going on. And like you said, most clients are happy with that, or, potential clients, because to be honest, they don't want to be bothered at 2 a.m. either.
Totally. And I mean, it's really interesting because we see that day to day in our receptionist service, because we also make outbound calls. Like, the word receptionist is kind of a misnomer, right? Because like it says receiving, but really we make outbound calls too. So when we're calling back someone to make sure that they're going to be, for our client, at court when they're scheduled to be, or they're going to show up for this meeting or this consult or whatever the case is, or just checking in, there's some sort of outbound call that needs to be made. Someone completed the form on your website that says, I want to be a new client. We can call those people back immediately. Now, we have to be really thoughtful, because we have people in many time zones who shouldn't be calling the business new client in a time zone outside of normal business hours in their local time. So it is really important, when you think about service delivery, to not be that person who calls during dinner time or late at night. That will erode the professionalism of your business.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I got a call last night at 6:00, at 6:00. And it actually happened to be my insurance company. But, they were just checking in. And I said, you do understand what time it is? Yes, ma'am. Which meant no. And I said, it's dinner time. And the response was, oh, sorry, this won't take long. And I said, it's not going to take any time at all, because, I didn't, but I wanted to say, where are you calling from? And that's one of the things, and it's interesting. I want to get back to talking about specific services that you guys offer. And that is the fact that it's what you offer is US based. And I've had guests on before where we have talked about outsourcing, especially to the Philippines. And depending on what you're doing, I mean, that's great. There are many things that can be outsourced to a lot of different places around the world, but phone calls in many cases really are things that need to be, especially US based.
For small businesses, where it's like the law firm that you drive past on your way to work, you're like, it doesn't sound like I called the right business. You know, like if that's someone's first experience contacting your firm, because most of the times it is, you're giving the impression that erodes trust immediately, that then that little seed is planted in that person's brain that's very hard to remove. So if you feel strongly about maintaining the professionalism and controlling the tone and voice and brand of your business, which is also something really important early on, to sort of fake it till you make it, it's really important to have someone on the phones that sounds like representative of your business. Now, that's one thing, but I will say, on the website chat and texting,
that's very different.
People are often looking for answers. Like, they will visit your website before calling. They're often not taking an interruption or a lunch break, or they're at their desk at work and they just want to get this answer to figure out, can I sort of like multitask here, and while I'm on this conference call, also sort of web chat on this lawyer's website or IT firm or whatever. Oh, I'm going to contact this new financial advisor. What they want to know is, do you work with people who have my wealth level or my problem? It's family law, it's not business law, as you were saying,
and I really don't care who or where they are responding from.
An accurate, fast answer. That's what people want. So as long as you have people who are well-trained and friendly and professional, the most important thing, and this goes back to the responsiveness and the importance of that, is that you give an answer. And then also, the really interesting thing we're seeing on web chat is that people are very willing to share more information, and to not have to incur that interruption, or to have that opportunity to be overheard that maybe is like a sensitive matter, like if you're
Right.
getting divorced or if
Mhm.
you're dealing with an
Right. Yeah.
immigration
I'm not going to
issue,
be on
you
the
don't want
phone
your
in my
coworkers
cubicle
to hear
talking
that.
about it.
So like having people really are more likely than ever these days to
Mhm.
be more disclosive
Mhm.
through their thumbs than on their tongues.
Mhm.
So if you give them the opportunity to do so, your business will benefit because you'll probably get a
Mhm.
lot more information from them, which means that you'll be able to help them screen themselves in and
Mhm.
out, right?
Right.
Because it's not just about like, oh, let's take in all these questions and we'll just answer the ones that we
Mhm.
get. You have to also offer information,
Mhm.
understanding that as a small business, especially in professional services,
Mhm.
like people have no idea for most businesses that like quote out their services,
Mhm.
right? They have no idea what things cost
Mhm.
or should cost
Right.
or will cost or
Yeah.
what's
They know
included
what
or
their
how long
neighbor
should it
told
take.
them, yeah.
No
Mhm.
one has any clue.
Mhm.
I mean, if I have a drain snaked, I'm
Mhm.
like, I think that should be an hour,
Yeah.
maybe two, but
Mhm.
someone could tell me we found this thing, it's going to be the whole day. Like,
Mhm.
I leave it to the service professional
Mhm.
to set the expectations. So if you are a service professional, you have to be proactive so that people
Mhm.
don't waste your time, because guess what? They don't want to waste their time either.
Mhm.
So
Right.
help them
Mhm.
screen you out if you're
Right.
not the right
Mhm.
business.
Right.
No one wants to waste time. It's not
Mhm.
good for anybody.
Mhm. Well, and and you want to know, especially if you're doing a service call, or yeah,
Mhm,
actually, it doesn't matter if they're coming to you or you're going to them.
mhm,
You need to have that good idea of how much, how long it's going to take.
mhm.
Is it something that's an hour or is it something that's 4 hours?
Right.
And because if you booked an hour and it turns out to be 4 hours, well, you've probably got at least two other people that are going to get upset because you just bounced them. And so
Mhm,
that's where having that screening process is so
mhm,
valuable.
mhm,
And so you have to have trained the person that's either, online answering or, taking the phone calls to
mhm.
ask the appropriate questions. It can't just be, okay, so you're getting divorced. We're going to book you for an hour.
Or just open-ended, like, oh,
Right.
tell me why
Mm-hmm.
you're calling today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Right.
that's like one of the worst
Mm-hmm.
mistakes that you can
Yeah.
make, because guess
Mm-hmm.
what? They're going to tell you their life story
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to pay if you're like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of receptionist services also charge per minute and they will
Mm-hmm.
let that
All
person
right.
talk. Let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you. We actually charge
Mm-hmm.
per call or
Mm-hmm.
per chat, only relevant conversations,
Right.
right? So we're incentivized
Mm-hmm.
just to be aligned with
Mm-hmm.
you, that like you don't want to pay for
Mm-hmm.
a 30-minute conversation with not someone who's a good potential
Right.
client.
Mm-hmm.
You want a 3 to 5 minute conversation
Mm-hmm.
where we get the information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the really interesting things here too is that we haven't talked about the content of these conversations
Mm-hmm.
and how that improves your business, because
Right.
a lot of small businesses cannot afford the fancy marketing costs
Mm-hmm.
of some agencies. Now,
Mm-hmm.
some are very affordable and
Mm-hmm.
that's fantastic,
Mm-hmm.
but some are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And many, I hate to say it, I come from a marketing background and I've seen this my whole career. There are a lot of agencies that will just take your money and sort of run and
Right.
promise you something and not
And
deliver. Oh, we'll
squanch
rank
you
you first on
into,
Google.
yeah, this is what we're doing this month.
Oh,
Every
it takes
client
a
gets the same
year for you
thing.
to rank. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
give me a break.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do though is you can take back some of the control
Mm-hmm.
by having, let's say you have this website chat, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're even just not paying for anything. You have the free chat bot that we
Mm-hmm.
offer, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and that's passively on your site,
Mm-hmm.
having conversations, answering questions that you've programmed in,
Mm-hmm.
and just receiving questions, because most small businesses don't have a search bar on their website.
Mm-hmm.
But when people type into Google, they're also going to phrase really similarly on your chat.
Right.
So what happens? All of those like not provided keywords
Mm-hmm.
that frustrate all of us in Google Analytics,
Mm-hmm.
like are then sort of open up to you when you
Mm-hmm.
have chat and you have the people who are phrasing things the same way on your website.
Mm-hmm.
It can give you a lot of
Right.
information for what people are looking
Mm-hmm.
for when they're coming there, what they're not finding that you can add to your FAQ.
Mm-hmm.
You can write blog
Right.
posts about.
Yeah.
You
So
can
maybe
change
you
your
filter
header.
them out immediately or filtered them in.
And you can use them to
Mm-hmm.
generate more and better clients, because
Right.
the content on your website is more informed
Mm-hmm.
by, these are the questions that people have that I'm
Mm-hmm.
not answering. And the more that you have that content, the less they're going to bother you on these
Mm-hmm.
channels because they
Right.
can't find the answer,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say that you have a web design company.
Mm-hmm.
that you've hired to help your law firm, and you do like personal injury, and you have a page about like car wrecks, maybe in your area actually people say car accidents.
Right.
Like if you don't use the right word, and then you see that people are chatting in, well, what about, well, what's a car wreck? Is that like a more dramatic car accident? Like, do I have to actually wreck my car so it's salvaged?
Is it totaled? Like, is
it totaled? Right. I mean, people don't know these things. So don't take for granted what you know as a business owner, and then also just open up these channels to receive the communications that people have, and then decide, is this right for me? Because if you say like, I don't really like website chat, it's annoying, I'm not going to put it on my own business, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So you can always take these things off or change them or make them look different, or just passively sit on the side and have them be available if someone prompts or engages with them. They don't have to be annoying. So see what happens though before you make that decision.
Right. You know, and as you said, you know, it's not one size fits all. You know, it has to be specialized. I was talking with someone many years ago back in Denver who they had hired on a retainer basis, someone to do their social media posts, predominantly Facebook. And they were a bakery. You know, and I'm looking at their Facebook posts and I was just cringing, and, you know, and this was a person who I knew, you know, and respected and socialized with, you know, and so then I'm thinking, how do I tell them they've screwed up? You know, and I finally thought, okay, I'm their friend. I should just tell them. And so I said, I didn't realize that you did weddings. She said, we don't do weddings. I said, well, your Facebook page says you're doing weddings and it's got pictures of cakes and all these. And she went, oh my God. And plus they were in Denver, and the firm that they hired was back east. And so they would get, you know, these posts about, you know, snow today. Well, okay, you know, and Denver, you know, yes, Denver's in Colorado, but it's a big state. It might not be snowing in Denver, and the mountain passes might be closed.
Or your followers might be reading it and thinking, well, yeah, duh, it snows every day or whatever.
You know, and so, you know, that was part of the issue, was they just completely turned it over. They never looked. They never did anything.
They didn't monitor. Right. And that's not the solution either. It's not black or white. You can't hand something off. And frankly, in a lot of businesses, it can hurt your service delivery. But even for like, you know, people who are in finance or legal, it's actually really unethical to hand things off and not monitor them, because the onus is on you. That is your service delivery at the end of the day.
Right. Well, and especially if your name is on the business. I mean, that's, you know, and so you should always monitor it, you know, and I would be the person that if I hired you, I would tell my friends, you know, call, see what happens. You know, all of these, knowing of course that that's going to cost me a little bit of money, but you know, it's okay, because I want to make sure that the service is right. So, you know, it's never set it and forget it. You know,
I was just going to say that. You read my mind.
You know, we always need to check these things.
And you're not going to figure it out on day one. Like, we have sometimes people who get in touch with us and they say, I love the idea of a receptionist service. I don't have time to set something like this up. And we're like, no, that's what we're here for. Like, we've handled a million conversations. Like, you know what to do for your business. Let us help you. And they're like, oh, I just don't have time for it. I need to do all these other things. Like, you know, this is the most important thing that you'll ever do for your business.
Yeah. It is the first contact that many people have with you.
Right. And you need to focus your precious time on the things that you're great at doing. And even if you don't have a ton of clients, you can be networking, doing business development, writing, getting your name out there, responding to these reviews.
Going to a movie or having fun. I mean,
you don't have to work around the clock. Exactly. Especially if you're about to ramp up the business.
Right.
So you might want to take a little breather, but there's an opportunity to cost your time, even if it's not unbillable work, right? If it's about future billable work. So what we see is like people will make every excuse to not start a new process because it's just out of their comfort zone. It's not out of their like means, right? It's absolutely within their means, but it's intimidating. And I totally get that. Or you've had a bad experience with a service in the past, or, you know, it's really easy, I think, to lump everything into one bucket if you've
Mm-hmm.
had a bad experience.
Yep.
But keep in mind also that like your reviews are not just based on the clients who work with you, but also the
Mm-hmm.
people who try and get in touch
Mm-hmm.
with you.
Right.
So imagine if you go to a restaurant and you
Mm-hmm.
have bad service, but the
Mm-hmm.
food is amazing. Like, yes, it's a restaurant. It's
Mm-hmm.
about delivering food. But if you have a really ugly sort of customer service
Mm-hmm.
experience,
That's what you
you'll
remember.
probably write a review about that, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what sticks with you, and
Yeah.
you'll never go
Mm-hmm.
back. So
Yeah.
if you don't get a helpful, friendly
Mm-hmm.
response, or it's not easy to communicate
Mm-hmm.
with you, doesn't matter how good you are at being a plumber or how great you are at
Mm-hmm.
selling real estate. Like, if you don't respond, that's a bad
Mm-hmm.
experience, and that can generate a negative review for your
Right.
business.
Right. You know, and it comes back to what we were saying at the very start. We
Mhm.
expect something right away, you know, and I don't care if it's a plumber, a restaurant, a lawyer, whatever.
A package from
Yeah,
Amazon.
you
Yeah.
know, I want something right away. And
Mhm.
now rationally, I'm going to know, okay, they're probably not going to respond. But if they do, even if I get a basic response like ooh, you know, and so we've been talking about the fact that you guys offer a receptionist who answers
Mhm.
the phone,
Mhm.
but there's also the technology aspect. So there's
Mhm.
live chats and there's chat bots. So, you
Right.
know, those are the people who, you know, and I've got your website open right now.
Cool.
And so the little chat bot has opened up and it's
Mhm.
very unobtrusive, which I like that.
Yeah.
I hate the ones that are like, you know, and you have
Totally.
to read.
It takes up the entire screen, or
yeah.
on your mobile phone, literally the
Oh
entire
yeah.
screen, and you're
And
like,
I
get
can't find the
away.
stupid little X to close it.
I
Yeah.
know.
No, because then what happens? I go to the next one. It's just like if somebody doesn't answer the phone, I go on
Bad
to the next one.
experience. You're like, get me out of this
Mhm.
website. How did I get here? You're
Yeah.
in panic
Yeah, and you're
mode.
like, I just wanted to know, you know, a simple question I didn't, you know. And so yours says, hi, welcome to Smith.ai. How can we help? I can
Mhm.
open it, I can close it, you know, but it's on every
It's
page, but very
inviting, right?
unobtrusive. Yeah, you know, and so it's there. Now I haven't clicked on it. I didn't want to mess anything up. But, you know, there is a difference obviously between a live chat
Mhm.
and a chat bot. So talk to
Mhm.
us about that.
So we actually have a combined approach. Again, the same
Mhm.
way with the receptionist where we're blocking spam for them and we're sort of using technology to make the routing really efficient
Mhm.
for calls and things like that. We also have the ability on the chat to have live staff who
Mhm.
are available either like at the start or in the middle of certain conversations based
Okay.
on prompts. So what we can do is we can really efficiently use the staff who are
Mhm.
available for chat, not only to be responding, but also to be taking these responses and seeing the big picture and crafting really like a Q&A and knowledge base
Mhm.
where we say, look, we're answering this question the same way every time. Let's build this in. And we see this other question that's very similar to this one that's commonly asked. It's sort of synonymous. How do we relate those questions to the same answer?
Mhm.
And then we can look over time and see this question couldn't be responded to with a sort of expected response.
Right.
Let's go to the business and say, hey, review these
Mhm.
questions that were coming in that we don't have immediate answers to,
Mhm.
that we could help you more efficiently with if we just got these answers. And then, do you find that people phrase this differently, or
Mhm.
is this right? And we kind of then learn, and the AI learns also to relate certain common keywords back to proper answers,
Right.
so that if you're using us for phone and web, we
Mhm.
also take this information back and forth, so
Mhm.
you'll get the consistent answer no matter what channel you prefer to communicate on. And then you also have the opportunity to have just the chatbot, so you can actually identify what the common questions and answers are. You can take
Right.
your FAQ, whatever.
Mhm.
It takes very little time, and it's very easy to plug into your
Mhm.
website, and it's completely free for unlimited
Mm.
conversation. So that means that
Mhm.
you've got a preset group of Q&A that's included, and
Mhm.
then you have one playbook, which basically is a steered conversation.
Ah,
It's
okay.
not just a one-time question
Mhm.
response.
Mhm.
It's actually a question, for example, are you taking new clients?
Mhm.
And then the response is, yes, we are. This is a family law practice.
Mhm.
Does that, address your
Right. Is
potential
that
issue?
what you're
And like,
looking
yeah,
for?
I'm
Mhm.
looking for this help with
Mhm.
child custody or divorce,
Mhm.
right? Wonderful. We
Mhm.
typically ask a couple questions, and then we schedule a consultation. It's
Mhm.
30 minutes, and it's going to cost $100. Would you like to proceed?
Mhm.
And then you carry out that entire conversation.
Mhm.
You book it, and maybe you even have a credit card link that you pay securely
Right.
online.
Mhm.
So that entire intake process, that screening and intake and booking, is done through an automated
Mhm.
bot. And that's something that the live receptionist can plug in so
Mhm.
that it's handled consistently, and
Mhm.
then they sort of monitor and jump in
Right.
as needed.
Mhm.
Or they could have that, just totally natural
Mhm.
conversation where they're answering. They can plug in sort of content as it facilitates
Mhm.
their speedy response. And 24/7, even if you have the live staff during your business hours,
Mhm.
we can actually back it up with that chatbot. So
Right.
with the live staff, you get both. And
Mhm.
with the chatbot, you get just the bot, and then you can upgrade sort of with
Mhm.
advanced features,
Right.
or we can actually do custom programming
Mhm.
for you. It's sort of like, do you have an interest in doing this yourself? Um, Getting started is really easy, and
Mhm.
typically what we recommend is just add the chat to your site. Don't pay anything for it.
Right.
Do the free chat
Dip your
bot,
toes in.
and then see what comes in. Is it good? Is it
Mhm.
quality? Is it not? Is it helpful?
Right.
And then you decide, okay,
Mhm.
this is something I'm going to
Mhm.
invest in, or I
Right.
really want the live
Mhm.
staff. It's like, choose your own adventure,
Mhm.
but don't say, I'm not going down that path,
Mhm.
because that's an assumption that you don't know what opportunity lies
Mhm.
within your website unless you open it up to conversation.
Right. Right. And of course, what we're doing is we're missing so many opportunities, as we said, like when we're not taking phone calls.
Right.
When we don't give those options, of
Who's
course, the
bouncing from
problem is
your
we don't know
website?
what we missed. We
They
don't know what we
couldn't
don't
find
know.
the answer, so they
Right.
leave because there's
Mhm.
no search bar. They're
Right.
not going to go hunting. How hard are you going to make them work
Mhm.
for it,
Right.
right? And let
Yeah.
me tell you,
Mhm.
tolerance for work is lower than ever. They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
going to navigate
Mhm.
through a bunch of pages on your
Yep.
site, even though you may think
Mhm.
that's not really a lot of work.
Mhm.
To them, on their lunch break, it is. To them,
Right.
between picking up kids
Mhm.
and dropping off kids at soccer practice
Mhm.
and childcare and getting dinner on the
Right. If
table,
I have to go
it
to
is
5 different pages now,
too
yeah.
much work.
Mhm. And especially when it can be a simple question. What are
Right.
your hours? Where are you located? I was trying to go to a restaurant a week or so ago, and after 4 clicks, I still did not get their address.
That's
And it was like,
ridiculous.
"Oh, no, this is bad."
And you think, if you don't pay attention with
Yeah.
this, how much attention are you paying with
Mhm.
your actual business,
Yep. Oh,
right?
yeah. And when I finally, when I actually I called and I said,
Mhm.
"I need your physical address."
Mhm.
Got the sigh, because I'd
Mhm.
interrupted them.
Mhm.
And, well, it's on the website. I said, "Well, that's pretty cool,
Oh
but I couldn't
gosh,
find
it's
it."
on the website.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's
and
actually
I'm like, "I'm sorry. It took you the same amount of time to tell me it's on the website as to
as
say
to
123
actually
Main
say the
Street."
street address.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And when and I mean, it was one of those things where by the time I got the information, I was so frustrated. It was like, no, I'm just not going to mess with it.
Yeah.
And again, it's expectations. You and I were chatting before the program, and one of the things you mentioned is transparency.
Mhm.
If I'm talking with a chat bot, so it's
Mhm.
automated, I just
Mhm.
need to know I'm chatting with a chat bot
Right, your
as opposed to
expectations
a
are
real live
reasonable.
person. Hmm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
You shouldn't pretend, because the
right.
technology isn't there
Hmm.
yet. Like,
Yep.
why would you pretend that that's a live human
Hmm.
being? Just say, hey, I'm a bot and I can
Hmm.
answer some basic questions for you. And if
Yep.
I can't, I'll make sure your
Hmm.
information gets to the live
Yes.
person who will call you back
Hmm.
or follow up with you. Do you prefer
Hmm.
phone or email? It can do all of those things.
Hmm.
And guess what?
Right.
That's what people want to know
Hmm.
is, am I going to hear back from
Hmm.
you? Am I the right client for your
Right.
business?
Hmm.
Are you open at these hours or
Hmm.
whatever? But like, just be upfront
Right.
about what it is
Hmm.
you're going to do for them in that
Hmm.
channel.
Yeah. And again, it's because I've got my list of 5, 10,
Hmm.
2, whatever. If I don't get it from the first one, I just go to the next one.
Totally.
And
Even
so why
referrals.
not be that person that captures as much as you can the very first time?
Right. Don't think that, like, also, I mean, a lot of businesses rely on referrals, and
Hmm.
don't think that you're the only referral that someone has received.
Right.
I think that that's a really sticky,
Hmm.
slippery slope too, is to say, oh, there's people who search online, like, they're not my ideal clients.
Hmm.
My business runs on referrals. It's like, that's not a growth strategy, actually.
Hmm.
Like, oftentimes referrals are really variable, and it's hard to
Right.
predict your growth
Hmm.
from that. So
Oh,
it needs to be a balance. And frankly, if you don't pick up from that referral,
yeah. Yep.
they're just going to call the
Oh,
next
yeah.
referral that they got, or they're going to turn to
Uh,
search.
yeah. I had it happen yesterday. My neighbor said, and she's texting me, who
Mhm.
did you use as your roofer?
Mhm.
And so I texted her back, and I know the very next thing she did
Mhm.
was she went to their website.
Mhm.
She,
Right. First.
and so then, it gets a little bit lost in that.
Mhm.
Was it a referral? Sure. Now, did she remember to
How
tell them
often do
that?
you
Who
use a
knows?
roofer? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like every day. So
Yeah.
she wants to make sure, like, okay, I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
Deb's got a great
Yeah.
recommendation, but like, are they
Mhm.
still in business
Yep.
and can they take my business now?
Oh yeah, yeah. And so we do kind of that little, even, yeah, even if, they said, oh my gosh, it's the best in the world, we're still
Hmm.
going to do a little bit of research.
Right.
Unless it's
Right.
like a dollar item,
Hmm.
but for something that either is a lot of time or a lot of money, we're going to do research.
If it's worth asking for a referral, it's worth doing the
Right.
research.
Right. Yeah. And so, again, make it as easy as possible. And what I loved was the fact that you said, set yourself apart, because everybody else is doing the basic.
Subpar,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Average.
Just in terms of responsiveness.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's what matters at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
outset.
And so why not take a step, and as you said, try a chatbot,
No
try
one's
the,
asking to get
yeah,
married. It's a month-to-month
right.
service,
Mhm.
right? Like, just try it. There's
Yeah.
very, very little risk.
Hmm.
And at
Yep.
least there's learning,
Hmm.
right?
Right. Right. And you may discover that it works great, that it doesn't work, that you need something different. I mean, all these various things, but you're not going to know if you don't try it.
Right.
So I think I need to at least start with a chatbot. I think I need to do that. As you
We
said,
can
it's
help you with
free.
that.
Boy.
We can help you with that. And we also,
Mhm.
so Deb, I mean, before we had this conversation, I got a promo code ready for you and
Perfect.
for your listeners and viewers. It's Power Hour 100, Power Hour 100. And that gets $100 off any of our services
Cool.
for the first month, and it's after you've already had a free trial.
Okay.
So
Great.
you're welcome to use that. Doesn't
Hmm.
expire. And people who are existing clients get really generous
Perfect.
referral credits from us. So
I love it.
we thank generously.
Mhm. Well, and I want people to check out your website, because you've got great information there. Whether someone works with you or not,
Hmm.
there is great information there as to what some of these services are. What
Hmm.
the heck we're even talking about? Somebody might have just
Right.
gone, chatbot, I don't know what that is. Okay, you can go and research it. All these various
Yeah.
things. So tell people how they find you and how they find more information about you.
So you can visit our website at smith.ai. And we also have a chat on there. You can chat with us live and discuss our services and how we can help you. We have an email that you can correspond with us through, hello@smith.ai. And we also have a phone number, 650-727-6484. And we would be happy to hear from you any way that you prefer.
Perfect. I love it. And of course, it's available 24/7. All these various things, because, wouldn't be very good if it was only,
The chat is 24/7, the
Yep.
chat bot.
Yep.
The phone lines, we are
Mhm.
ramping up to 24/7 because
But
we do
mhm,
have US-based agents.
mhm,
So that is something that we are adding.
right.
But the responsiveness through
Mhm,
chatbot is
mhm,
24/7. Yeah,
right.
you can get answers at
Yeah.
any time.
And while we might want immediate responses, an immediate response can be, we'll return your call tomorrow. That's okay.
During business hours, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and
So,
that is the benefit of the chat, that everyone is
mhm,
going to have a website at this point, and everyone visits your website
mhm,
first. So we
right.
find that we can deliver that
Mhm,
24/7 responsiveness if you at least have that set up.
right.
And then that can set
Mhm,
expectations
mhm,
for taking the information
mhm,
from the new potential client or the
mhm,
existing, and then saying, I have your phone number and email.
mhm.
You'll get a call back tomorrow during
Yep.
business hours, right?
Yep. Yeah. And really, that's what people want. They just want to know that they were acknowledged.
Right.
It's when
100%
you send
equalizer.
something off and it goes, off into the great nowhere, I'm going to go to the next person on my list.
Hmm.
Well, Maddie, this is great. I've been having so much fun talking about this. I like tech,
Same.
but I'm a dabbler. I'm like, ew, and so I'm, yeah, but chatbot, I think I can do
The
chatbot.
perfect thing to dabble in. It's
You know,
very
and
low risk,
yeah,
and it's a lot of fun, honestly. I
mhm.
think that it's a hoot.
It will be fun, and I can't wait to try this. And again, it's smith.ai, no
Hmm.
.com, just .ai, that gets you there. I've been having a great time. Can't wait to chat with you again, because technology is obviously going to continue to evolve. And so it will be great to talk with you about the next big thing that comes along. And so we're really going to have a lot of fun keeping up on all of that.
I can't wait. Thanks, Deb. I look forward to that.
Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having a wonderful time talking with Maddy Martin from Smith.ai. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.